That sounds good. I'll spend 44 million.
Well, I don't think
if I have to do a year in prison.
I don't think Ursula von der Leyen stole 40 million euros.
Sorry, not her. Not Ursula von der Leyen. Sorry, my mistake. Christine Lagarde. Lagarde.
Well, I'm sure that Christine Lagarde didn't steal 40.
What happened?
I don't think she stole 40 million euros either. I don't quite recall that. I must have missed the news that day. But anyway, tell me about Vienna, Declan. I'd really like to go.
Here we ring fence the NHS, Nick. It's as simple as that.
But for tourists,
no, yeah. Well, no, we see you. We do get money from the NHS.
Right, you're still not selling Vienna to me as a tourist. Or am I going to need a week or just a weekend?
You got to come here. You know what? You could really maybe do it in a weekend.
Really?
It's really concentrated. Everything is just it's really next to each other, and yeah.
Right. Well, I'll stick it down on my list of places that I'm probably never going to go. But I can dream. Thanks a lot, Declan. 0345 6060 973. Always wanted to go to Vienna, despite that song. JR texts, Nick, I bet bankers now call Crazy Kwarteng Crazy Kerr Ching. Mind you, with a pound through the floor this evening, there's no bonus for them to claim. Good work, Quasi, says JR. Well, there's no bonus for them to claim unless they bet against the pound. And they all have form in that regard. The people that brought us Brexit, who are actively trying to get us out of the European Union, were putting a bet on that getting us out of the European Union would hurt the country. And those people aren't in jail. Why? 0345 6060 973. Aisling, Bromley.
Hi, Nick.
Aisling.
Sorry, I know you're going to say stop complaining, but I've been waiting so long I wasn't expecting that.
Oh,
whinging and whining and moaning.
Yes. How are you?
Good, thanks.
You're great. It's so nice to talk to you. It's so weird to call on a Friday night. I haven't actually called on a Friday or Saturday before.
Right. Well, here we are.
Very interesting. Here we are. Anyway, I was going to ask you a few things. I was going to ask you, first of all, because I think you've mentioned a few times that you saw Elvis and you liked it. I saw it yesterday.
No, I didn't. I've never seen Elvis.
You didn't see Elvis, the film?
You're talking about the film? No, I haven't. Have not seen it.
What film did you see recently? You're definitely talking about one.
Top Gun. I saw Top Gun
I wouldn't
recently.
see that.
It's great, Aisling.
Is it loud?
Is it loud?
Is there a lot of shooting?
Yes, to both of those.
I wouldn't like it.
Yeah. You'll love it.
Yeah,
Trust me.
No, I don't think I would.
Aisling, you'll like it because it's loud and there's a lot of shooting.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like that.
I think you'll love it.
Okay, well, we'll agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also going to...
What's that Elvis film like, by the way? The one that I haven't seen.
I didn't like it. My brother-in-law and my sister saw it, and they really liked it. Right. I found it very sad. I mean, it's good. It is good.
Sad?
It's got a really good... Yeah, it's really sad. The story is sad. It's got a very good cast.
Yeah. Does he die in the end? Don't tell us.
Yeah. No. I won't tell you.
I want it to be a surprise.
Okay. But it is good. It is I think you'd like it, because it is very kind of, the beginning of rock and roll.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about that, Aisling. Is it loud and does it have a lot of shooting?
No shooting, but the music is music and it's rock music.
Right.
So
I wouldn't like it.
I wouldn't like Top Gun. But yeah, I don't know why I thought you saw that. I thought that you might like it though. You probably like it because I know that you'd like it. That you like Elvis.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I'm not sort of over the top like people for fan worship Elvis Presley. I don't really quite get that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get that at all.
He was just the first. He was just the first white man to do the black man's music. radio stations in America found it, even till the 1970s, well, to the 80s, they found it, they didn't want to play music that was produced by black people. And so Elvis Presley came along and made it easy for them to play black people's music because he was a white guy doing it. But he wasn't the first, and I do prefer the original versions of some of the songs that he took, like Hound Dog. His is okay. It's a bit thin. It's a bit sort of, I don't know. There's just not much to it. But if you listen to Big Mama Willie Mae Thornton, her version of it, well, that is rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the film's about. It kind of, because I definitely didn't know, but it kind of shows that it wasn't so easy for him to kind of be one of the first to do that. And there's a lot more about the story. I think that's what my brother-in-law said as well. He didn't actually know a lot of it. But no, it is good. And like I said, it's got a good cast. Tom Hanks is in it, and he doesn't look at all like Tom Hanks, as in I don't know whether he had to... Well, that is an indicator of quality, Tom Hanks. If Tom Hanks is in a film, then you know it's not going to be rubbish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, as a film, it is good. It's just bad. Like, well, I'll tell you what, Aisling, I'll put it down on my list, and when it comes on TV and it's free, I'll watch it. How's that sound? Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Yeah, good idea. I mean, I waited like months after it came out because I don't like going to cinema when there's more than about 8 people in there. No. You go at 2 in the afternoon when you are the only person that's in there. I cannot stand being in the cinema with other people. I just can't stand it. Because, people. I've met people, I'm not that keen. Aisling, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. This is Nick Abbott on LBC. The news headlines at just past 11:30 with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Gibbon, we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which the delightful Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing our faces off. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you must send it to this address, nickandcarol@global.com. Now, me and Carol, we're doing a taping tomorrow, and that show will come out on Monday. They always come out on Monday, unless they don't. Very, very occasionally they don't come out on Monday, but that's what we're aiming at, coming out on Monday. There's over 100 up there. There could be something like 120, 130, something like that. I know you're not supposed to say this, but they are funny. We do make each other laugh. She's a very funny person. nickandcarol@global.com. That's the email address if you want us to solve your problem. And the podcast is called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. Get it on Global Player, like everything else we do. Stanwell, Michael.
Hello there, how are you?
Hello there. I'm great.
I've got a couple of things I'd like to mention. For the government to, blatantly be robbing the poor, I think that's a good opportunity for the head of state to say this has to stop. You can't blatantly, give the people that earn £1 million plus a £55,000 tax, and the people that are earning £50,000 a 40% tax. It's daylight robbery, obviously. And there is nobody to interfere and say, we can't have that, that has to stop.
Well, eventually, Michael, there will be someone to interfere, as you put it. It will be us lot. We will be asked at unless they plan to cancel voting, which I wouldn't put it past them, then at some point we will be asked our opinion. How's it going so far? We will be asked. And who do you want to lead us through this mess for the next 5 years?
But it's robbery. It is blatant robbery of the people's money. Okay, we can see what they're doing. They're looking after, and they're taking advantage of them having another couple of years and thinking, right, how much more can we get out of the poor people that are going to have to pay for it later? We're going to pretend that there's going to be tax cuts for everyone, but the people that are going to pay the least are the most wealthy. It is absolutely shocking. So for us to have a head of state, okay, that obviously isn't meant to interfere, but we know they do. It would be great for our king that we pay for that accepts cash from people. And by him accepting the cash isn't a crime. But what's a crime is the people that gave him the cash investigating where would anybody get £2 million in cash from. This is the crime. That is the crime.
What, £2 million?
Well, Prince Charles accepted £2 million in cash, okay? And it was by the charity commission.
It wasn't for him. I don't really want to get into that. I mean, there's more important things than that. It wasn't for him. It was for a charity, and he didn't accept it himself. It was done on behalf of his charity by one of his flunkies. I don't know. Anyway, Michael, I'm not getting dragged down that lane. Joanne says, I never thought I'd say this, but I think I prefer Bodger Johnson instead of the Brains Trust. Well, no. I suspect we're being led in the same direction. I mean, the Brains Trust does seem to be being operated as a puppet by the evil puppet masters behind her, in the ERG, one of those, that lot. And Boris Johnson did seem to be less evil. But the thing with him is that he could just ruffle his hair and go, oh, and people are going, oh, leave him alone. He's doing his best. Whereas people will not say that about Liz Truss. I'm a little surprised that she has this, what you might call a honeymoon bump. I'm not saying she's pregnant, but she's got a honeymoon bump. I thought that it wouldn't exist, because of the dire straits that we all find ourselves in. I didn't think she would get an uplift in popularity at all, but she has, just a little one, tiny bit. But once we get to know her, once she becomes familiar, once the consequences of her actions become manifest, then I believe that her popularity will plummet. Whereas Bodger Johnson does have that ability to just sail through all of that. Kind of annoying, really. He can be torturing you to death, and people will still say he's doing his best. Leave him alone. Like he's a pet. Liz Truss ain't got that. Does anybody want to keep Liz Truss as a pet?
No.
0345 6060 973. I mean, as a guard dog, maybe. Frighten the postman. You'll never get a package again. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Good evening, Nick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Just a quick one regarding your last caller. Why would the head of state get involved in tax affairs when he's been exempted inheritance tax?
Yeah.
It would be rather clear to do that. But
yeah, plus they're not supposed to say a word about anything to do with politics. I mean, I know he has in the past. We know what his opinions are, and he is, in some regards, completely correct in every respect. In others, like his dislike of modern architecture, maybe not so much. But he's not going to say anything now because that's the job, to say nothing.
Yeah, silence is golden. But, another one, quick one.
The tremolos. I bet it was the tremolos. Silence is golden, golden. Hey, let's play that right now. I bet my glamorous assistant is lining that one up from the stacks of wax he had in the back since 1967.
Yeah, last week you were on about H and H.
Yes.
One of my personal hates came from your caller before the last news, and that's why do the Irish have to put another vowel in the word film?
Film.
And it does my nut. I've got Irish friends, and 30 years I've taken the mickey out of them about it, and they still do it. Now, it's why? It's 4 letters, one vowel, easy. But,
I guess so.
Anyway, going on to Truss.
It seems a bit unreasonable to get so exercised about that. But that H thing, that's a completely different thing entirely.
It does my head as well on that one. But, this Truss thing, though. One thing, have you seen the polls after the fiscal statement?
No.
This morning? They've swung dramatically.
Have they? Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. The pointer has moved big time on that.
People have woken up. Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think.
But what she's actually doing, when she beat Sunak and became head, her first thought would not be, what do I do about the cost of living? What do I do about the energy crisis? Her immediate first thought is, how do I remain leader after the next election?
I bet her immediate first thought was, how can I reward the donors?
Absolutely. So what we've got now is a situation where she's come up with this fiscal statement, which absolutely cements her place with the ERG and the far-right nutters in the Conservative Party. Mm-hmm. So she's now safe in the Conservative Party. And she's doing a Johnson with the rest of it. She's playing for one more throw of the dice. So if, say they remove Putin tomorrow and we got a reasonable Russian leadership and they started supplying gas would come down to normal price, everyone would feel good, she'd take credit for it.
Yeah.
And she's just playing for another throw of the dice all the time.
Well, what they're playing for is growth, this sort of magical thing that is just going to appear out of nowhere and lead us onto a better future. That's their plan, hoping for some magic to occur. What kind of a plan is that?
It never has done. Cutting tax has never stimulated an economy in the past. It's all there. You've got the facts tonight and read them all out.
Yeah.
It's a myth. It's just fair as at the bottom of the garden, but how long she can convince the public of it, I don't know.
But people are looking at it the wrong way. To look at it in the sense that, trickle-down economics doesn't work is not the right way to look at it. Trickle-down economics does work if you're a millionaire. Then she's not doing it for the rest of us because any fool know it won't work for the general population. But it will make those who are already rich, the donor class, even more rich, thereby freeing up a little bit of cash to come the Tory party's way. And there it is.
One of the other things that no one is talking about at the moment is that in a capitalist society, the rich always use unemployment as a tool. And it works in a sense that when there's a downturn in the economy, nobody asks for more wages because they're frightened they'll lose the job. Mm. And when things upturn a bit, they'll pay the sort of serfs a bit more at that point because they don't want to lose them and they want to attract them. But unemployment isn't a tool for them this time because we've sent our labour supply back to Europe.
That's right.
So they can't play that game. It's not a tool that capitalists have used for centuries. Which it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because they don't have that lever to pull this time.
Yeah, that's right. We said all of those people that were actually helping this country to get by day, we yelled at them to get out of our country for 5 years, and they did. Bye-bye, they said.
Absolutely disgrace. But somebody quoted Farage about the budget this morning. Mm. But here is another appalling one this week. You know, there's been a dispute in Leicester between the Hindus and the Muslims.
Oh, do you mind if I don't go there?
I was just going to say what Farage said. He said, Leicester proves my policy on immigration was right all along. Right. What a racist.
Let's not get carried away. He is the exact person that we always suspected he was. Hey, Mike, in closing, let me ask you this. Your cue to say, go on then.
Go on then.
What's your favourite film?
Couple really. Good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. I said, what's your favourite film? Never mind. Yeah. Better luck next time. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys.
0345 6060 973. Here's Fife. Paul.
Evening.
Paul.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. I think I just live on a different planet. And I've said it for many years. You've got Bonkers Boris, now disappeared. You've got Don't Trust now in power. And you've got Clausey dealing with the fiscal event. And I've said it for years of basically that I think the government has always wanted the people to be just above the poverty line
Yeah.
and no more. And the
Struggling.
only way to get in... Yeah, absolutely. You're clawing, it's that carrot and the stick system, you're constantly clawing. I own my own business, my partner owns her own business. We're comfortable. The announcements today will have no effect on us whatsoever. None. It won't affect us in the sense of extra savings. It won't make us any richer. It won't make us any poorer if they went forward with it. I think they should have went forward with them to help the whole of the UK to get spending back out there into the services that are needed, instead of putting it into hedge fund pockets that are going to go to kids, like they call it, it says, not in my name. And I was like, that's just a pure example of thinking the government are working for you, mate. They're not.
No, of course not. I mean, they're not even making much of a fist of pretending that they're not. I mean, I think they've just given up. You know, for the longest time, I've thought that they wake up in the morning and think, what can we do to them today? Because there doesn't seem to be any amount of punishment that is actually turns them against us. And so they just keep ramping it up. They gaslight us all the time by telling us that what is evident in front of our eyes does not exist, that up is down and black is white. And they just sort of set about torturing us just for fun, like a cat with a mouse.
But you've got the pure example of Boris Johnson. He could have went out on an absolute amazing high and went, there's what I've done to help you just now.
Yeah.
No, the next Prime Minister will take it on from there. He didn't. His ego got the better of him. He sat on his backside and went, we will do something. We will help you. We will. And it was stutter after stutter. I mean, you listen to him, you're like, can you not speak? Do you want to spit it out? Tell us, do something. You could have had a premiership leave of going, I started something great. This is the next... he could have led the Conservative Party right out there. But he didn't. His ego got the better of him. He sat there and went, not my problem. Not my job. It's nuts. And people, they basically laugh at me and go, no, you're living on another planet. I think I must do, because that's what I see.
What is alarming is that people were so relieved to get rid of Boris Johnson, and then in very quick time considering that his rule were the good old days, because look at what we got now.
Well, she doesn't know which way to turn. It's like, can someone give me a line? What's my next line? It's like watching a screenplay. Yeah. When you were watching Causey at that dispatch box, his head was down, he was reading line for line, and it reminded me, and it's Quasimodo. It's the guy in the bell tower doing as he's told constantly. Do this, do that.
It's like the government by Jerry Anderson in what did they used to call it? Not Panavision. It was Technovision, or what did the Thunderbirds used to be filmed in? Super Marionation. I bet that's right. Super Marionation. They're all marionettes. Exactly, yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Paul. 0345 6060 973. Like a robot, she is.
Affirmative.
Mohammed says, we need Bojo back to rescue the country from economic disaster. Well, if we wait for him to rescue us from economic disaster, then I think we're sunk.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Lucy says, is Crazy Kwarteng trying to create a charter for political earthquakes? Speaking of which, the fracking thing, maybe I'll get into that tomorrow. But it's so interesting what people said about fracking less than a year ago compared to what they say about fracking now, that it's government policy. People that used to be fully against it are now fully for it just months later. It's almost as though they don't believe in anything. Mark in Glasgow says, Nick, we mustn't worry any minute now. The rich, with their shiny new tax cuts and limitless bonuses, will start trickling on us all and everything will be fine. I'm heading to the nearest executive mansion to pick up my trickle, says Mark. Well, just don't get any on your shoes, Mark. 0345 6060 973. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening,
Jan.
Nick. Yes, thanks for having me on your show. I was ringing, Nick. I found it very interesting to hear you say earlier, as another lady said to you, that you had changed your feelings about the monarchy after watching the funeral.
Yes, I did. That funeral was one of the best things I've ever seen. I would watch the whole thing again.
Yeah, I watched it. It's spectacular. I felt very proud to be a Londoner. I felt very blessed to be actually living in London.
I just cannot believe that so many people hit their marks perfectly. In the perfect right time. It was just it was like a wind-up toy by Fabergé that lasted 8 hours.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, and the crowd. I think the queue was spectacular. I mean, the queue, the queue, and the crowd.
Well, I can't believe how many people were there. I mean, it was like 20 deep.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I would get panic attack being caught in a crowd like that. But what I'd like to also ask or share with you what struck me. Or what came like? I remember you saying something
Jan.
about what had. What? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. All right. I remember.
Just
you
calm down. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember.
Wait. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Hold it.
Right.
No, hold it.
Yeah, I will share. I will share first. I think I better share.
Are you still holding it?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Share? All right. Let me calm down. All right.
Go on.
Mick. So, I remember you once saying that. I'll share first of all what's so memorable about what the Queen has said that's really struck a chord in me and has kind of lodged itself in my heart was when she mentioned during that COVID time, the time of COVID, when lots of people had lost people. When she said, "We'll meet again."
Yeah.
And it was taken up in the sermon by the
right.
The Archbishop, wasn't it? We'll meet again.
Yeah, Justin Welby, who I agree with. I agree with Justin Welby. Absolutely everything he said there seemed to be directed squarely at the Tory party, and they have been found wanting. I agree with Justin Welby.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that I thought before I call you up, I'll look and see if the results of the census, the latest census of 2021, the results are out regarding religion, and apparently it's quite. This coming back to this, we'll meet again because it's pointing to. I mean, the Queen was the head of the church and was a person of great faith. So she's talking about the afterlife, really. So it's 61% of the. According to the latest census, 61% in England and Wales tick the religious box. And
I don't think that's right.
And yet they say we're in a secular society.
I don't think that's right. I think it's around about 50, if not lower. Well, last time I looked, but maybe people have changed their minds.
Well, 53.48% are Christian. And 7.22%.
Well, it's an interesting answer that people give when they say they're Christian. It doesn't necessarily mean that they believe in Christian principles, or they've ever been to church, or they pray, or they even believe in God. But people just say, "Oh, I don't know what I am. I'm Christian."
True. Yeah. I mean, but I think people may not. I mean, when the pandemic was on, there's perhaps a church without walls and spiritualism came to the fore, because a lot of people were losing people, and people may believe in some form of the afterlife.
Once you get moved nearer to the end, then you might start looking for sort of a get-out-of-hell-free card. Just checking whether you've been good. Have you been good or bad? Oh, no, that's Santa Claus, isn't it?
But it's not such a secular society, and I think the way people... people have lost people. It's. But I guess in a way, for me, the way I actually burst into tears when I heard about the Queen passing. The London.
Well, you know what? I cried many times during the course of that funeral. The day on Monday, I must have cried about at least a half a dozen, maybe 10 times. I tell you, the thing that really just did it for me was the Lone Piper. Whoever came up with that, he started up on his own and then walked away to fade out. Oh, whoever dreamt that up is a raving genius. That was brilliant. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Shut up.
I can't. I don't even need to check my ticket because I've got a very, very good feeling about this. I'm £170 million richer. I can't. In fact, I'm not going to bother to check my ticket because I just know it's me, and I'm going to start spending money right now, right this minute, right now. Get Aston Martin on the phone straight away. I mean it. Phil in Camberley says, Nick, perhaps Crazy K was laughing at Boris being told to get in line. Well, no, because that clip, you could see Carrie Antoinette sitting right in front of Crazy Kwarteng, the gigglesome Chancellor of the Exchequer. So, but just out of sight was whoever was sitting next to Carrie Antoinette. I imagine that it was her husband, Boris Johnson, unless Boris Johnson took a date to the Queen's funeral. Did you take a date to the Queen's funeral, Budge?
Yeah. Wait.
Because that's just the sort of thing that we would expect. Susan from the Isle of Wight says, Quasimodo hasn't done anything to help me with his Help the Rich Friends budget today. He should have raised the tax-free amount, which would have helped low-income earners. Yep, but that's assuming that the plan was to help low-income earners, which is completely incorrect in every respect. Let's have Bodmin. Malcolm.
Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Nick, two things. If you'd allow me a word on the Queen in a moment, but on Kwasi first. Kwasi Kwarteng, I think, is on to something real and tangible. And I think the person who springs to mind is Will Shakespeare. Will Shakespeare wrote for one of his characters in one of his plays, past his prologue. And for me, Kwasi Kwarteng is onto a winner because the news article earlier said that 60% of people think that the people who benefit most from this is the rich people.
Yeah.
And I'm with what you've been saying.
60%, did you say? 60%?
60% of people.
Right. Well, what are the other 40%? Where are they getting their information? Because of course it's for the rich. There's no doubt about it. The rich are the ones that have benefited specifically from this fiscal event.
Right. And Kwasi, and he's right. Kwasi sees this as a virtue because the downfall of the working class is, and the downfall of the Labour Party that they don't see it is, that the working class, they love or they hate the idea of taxes being raised because when they are rich, they don't want to be paying taxes either.
Exactly.
The trouble is 99%
they'll never become
of them
rich. Yeah.
are never going to become rich.
Right.
And Kwasi, he knows it. He's putting it out there and he's saying, look, guys, you are the people we want voting for us. You are what the country needs. People who vote to make themselves poorer, but have the dream that one day they're going to be so rich.
I think that's it in a nutshell. That is precisely correct. That's what they're selling. They're essentially selling you a lottery ticket.
But the point is, Nick, the point, Nick, is that he's absolutely spot on because he's only doing what Tories have done for years and years and years, only he is completely overt about it. He is saying that people will vote for it because they want to be rich one day. But the Tories have always been the party of the rich, for the rich, and they always will be. And there's no way of getting around that.
Well, what's incredible, all of that is plain for everyone to see. But what is incredible is that they are put in power by the poor. The poor overwhelmingly voted for the Conservative Party above any other demographic. The well-off voted Labour and Lib Dem and Green and all the rest of it. They split their vote so that the Tories, with a minority, sailed through to win again. You know, it's almost like our entire voting system is rigged to keep them in power.
But that is because middle-class people with a few quid, they appreciate that, but for the grace of God, they realise they could be down on their uppers just around the corner, and a welfare state is something to be prized. A national health service, a good education system is something to be prized, and people with money generally have a little bit of intelligence, and they vote for a safety net because they know it is a damn good thing. Right. Which brings me on to the Queen, Nick, if you'd allow me.
Okay.
I, like you, I watched the whole fortnight of the Queen, and I was somewhat shocked by the way. I've never been anti the royalty. I don't believe in the notion you're born to be a king and to rule everybody. I don't believe that at all. And I think
but hang on a minute. But that is the whole point of a monarchy.
Right, but the point I'm making is that I think the Queen twigged something at the end, and the two examples, which are the obvious ones, the Queen in the Bond thing and the Queen in the Paddington Bear thing. Yeah. They are so totally different. In the Bond thing, the Queen had to stand in, she did nothing. That was a lark. The Paddington Bear thing, I think, philosophically, was wholly different, in that it was her from start to finish. She played out the whole thing. And for me, Nick, I buried my mother 3 years ago. She was 81 when she went. I'm 62 now. I'm not a young fella, but I don't feel old. But I do, or I have since then, felt or started to feel somewhat mortal. And for me, throughout the fortnight, I've been watching a family who are the royal family, yes, but a family with all its faults. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people like me out there who think it's maybe dawning on the royal family that the facade has slipped hugely in the last fortnight, because you said you were moved to tears at 62 years of age, and I'm speaking to a few people on the radio. I don't mind admitting I shed a tear, but the tear I shed was when watching film of her as a young woman and with her kids, and when she spoke as a young woman. And then you brought back to the life she lived after and the way she spoke to the nation thereafter. But for me, something slipped, Nick, over the last fortnight. And it's that they are actually simply a family. And all the wealth and everything they've had can't hide that. And I think that the nation soon, it'll click. And they're just a family.
Well, yeah, I get all that, but the thing, the reason that I've sort of changed my mind a bit is really just to address the crisis that we find ourselves in, because the people that are running this country, I've said it many times, that it seems less like a political party and more like a smash and grab raid. They seem to be just stripping this country for parts. And just trying to make as much damage and monetize their position as much as they can before they get chucked out on their ear for what will probably be 5 years. And the instant that they lose the general election, they will blame Labour for everything that they have created over the past 12 years. And the public will inevitably agree with them because, memories are short. So given that we seem to be in the business of actually ruining this country and sort of hobbling ourselves in as far as competing with other countries is concerned, it would be best to maintain the one thing that we have that other countries haven't got, just to give us some slight edge. And the one thing that we have that no one else has got is this royal family. There are other royal families, but nobody cares about any of those. Where in the world does anybody even know who the Dutch royal family even are? Were you aware that they had one? You couldn't pick them out of a lineup. So that's the one thing that we have. And all that, see, I really have changed my mind. All that majesty and the folderol and the men with feathers in their hats and, the horses and the carriages and all that stuff, that's part of it. It's not actually a waste of money if you consider that it would give us just a bit of an edge over, say, I don't know, France or Germany or somewhere like that. You can go to France or Germany if you are a captain of industry, or you're another country looking for a huge and tremendous trade deal, and you can meet the president of France and the chancellor of Germany, and so boring. You call your other half at home and you say that you've just met the Chancellor of Germany, and their response will be boring. But you tell them that you've just met the Queen or the King. See, that's it's just practicality. It's a bit of a life raft, essentially, because this country's going down. We need all the help we can get right now. All right, thanks a lot, Malcolm. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I just must remind you one more time that this show does get put out as a podcast. The Friday and Saturday night shows get put out as a podcast. Now, the idea is that we strip the news and the ads out to make it so that it takes less time to listen to. I think it's like 2 hours 20 or something like that. So you can speed through it. It's an enjoyable way to listen to the show. But we have now put it on Global Player. That's that you can get it iTunes, Android and PC. It's free. It's got all the radio stations that we do here, like Heart and Classic and Capital, and there's too many for me to mention right now. But they're all on there. And a boatload of podcasts, in amongst which you'll find the 3 that I do. But specifically, the whole show podcast is only available now on Global Player. Like I said, you can pick it up for free, Apple, Android and PC. And once you've got it, I think you'll love it. But if you want the whole show podcast, it's only available there on Global Player.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
The whole world's gone crazy.
Zara emails, Nick, did you see the Australia's coverage of the state funeral? The commentators were naming the guests as they arrived. When Liz Truss stepped out of her car, they had absolutely no idea who she was. Yeah, I did see that. No idea who you were, Truss.
That is a disgrace.
If we get lucky, she won't be around long enough for them to have to learn it. Fingers crossed. Mikey in Hampshire emails, greetings. I'd like to say 3 little words on your show. Bring back Bodger, even with Peppa Pig. Yeah, I've got 5 words for you.
No.
In that order. Queen's Park. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Nick. I just want to talk to you about my fears about what I think is likely to happen with this, because of this fiscal statement today. Yeah. The first thing I'm fearing is that Truss and Co. might get away with it.
In what
way? And the reason why I'm saying that is they reckon that the cap that they put on to our gas and electricity could probably cut inflation within the next 18 months by about 5%. If that's true, I don't know. But this is what a lot of people are saying. Also, they reckon inflation in its cycle is likely in the next 2 years to probably end up around about 5%. This is what I've been reading. So if you take all these things together, inflation could be, at the time of the next election, 5%, 6% maybe, which would be a big drop to what we're probably looking at the moment, which could be by January, February, somewhere around about 12, 13%.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, what do we get? We get the Mail, we get the Express, we get the Sun, telling us what a great job they've done in reducing inflation. They'll throw in a little bit of racism about we got more boat people there, we got to keep the Tories in because they'll protect our borders.
That's right.
And what have you got?
we've got another Tory government because...
Well, people have to... I know what you're saying, but people have to remember that if we have 10% inflation this year, but only 5% inflation next year, that 5% inflation is on the price that has just gone up by 10%. The, prices won't go down, they will continue to go up.
I do agree with you, Nick, but see... And it's not being disparaging to most working-class people.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm
Get
a
ready.
working-class person, so I'm not... But most of
here it is.
Of my colleagues, I'd say, would be sun readers. Yes. And what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but all you need is a little headline in the Sun, and in the Mail, in the Express, and they'll forget all about what's happened.
Yeah.
As
Liz,
they did with Brexit,
Liz Truss,
get Brexit done.
Yeah, Liz Truss saves the world.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Truss and Kwasi should be knighted for what they've done in saving our country. And what's happening then? All your little, I'll say my working class colleagues who have voted us in for the last 12 years, even though they've had their wages cut, even though we've had all the cuts we got, Brexit.
Amazing. It is amazing. The people who continue to lose out continue to vote for the party that is forcing them to lose out. It's like this great streak of masochism that runs down the centre of this country. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
But what it is, though, Nick, as well, and it does make me mad at times as to how come the working class are so easily conned. How come? How do we keep up? How does my working class? I'm a working class person. I used to be a union rep. I'm retired now. And dealing with some people, you just think, you just scratch your head and think, what have they got to do to you before you think, I can't have you no more?
Yeah,
what do they have to do?
Like I said, wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. There doesn't seem to be...
There was a statement you said, Nick, at the beginning of one of your... when you speak to someone, and I totally agree with you 100%. And that was, this is a payback to the Tory donors and corporates. They're the people that run this country, and they're the people that have always run this country. But no one seems to understand it.
No.
And it's shocking.
Keep one thing in mind, Patrick. The masses are asses.
Absolutely. We're like lemons.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Ahmed emails, I don't know why Kwasi Kwarteng gets such a hard time from the mainstream media. His latest policy on energy costs savings is great. He said the light at the end of the tunnel will be turned off. He actually said that this policy to enact a tax cut for the super rich is the right policy to secure the country's future. Wow. So without this policy, this country doesn't have a future. It's worse than I thought. Let's have Isleworth. Ravi.
Yeah, good morning, Nick.
Morning.
I was hoping after the budget statement, Rishi would pop up with his tight trousers and short tie and ask a question. I think history would look at Truss and Kwasi as a gamble, as gamblers. If it works out and the gamble works, they'll be heroes. But I doubt it. I think Rishi...
Well, it depends what you mean. Because people are taking them on face value. I don't believe that they have any intention that any of these policies that they're enacting will help the majority of the people. They are very laser-like focused on helping the donor class, those people that keep the Tories in the manner to which they have become accustomed, and to hell with everybody else. So it will work. It most certainly will work for the rich.
You see, Nick, I'm a lifelong conservative. I worked hard. I built my business. I think I would agree with you with just two simple facts. I think these two are helping. I think, I don't want to say, if it does fail, Kwasi will go to the banking board and Liz will go to the oil board. But at least with Rishi Sunak, I mean, why would they reverse the national insurance increase when we're all going to get old? And that was supposed to help all of us. I mean, national
Well,
insurance
why did
increase
they
was
have
for
to
the
have a
social-
national insurance increase in the first place when they told us that we were going to get £350 million a week extra for the NHS? Where was that money?
But what I mean is, with Rishi, at least he helped the. I shouldn't say this. The mere mortals. Would you agree with me? At least he was in favour of helping the working masses.
I'll agree with you on this. It would have been better if we'd had Rishi Sunak than Liz Truss, and that was the opinion of the majority of the people in this country. But now that we have Liz Truss, it actually might be better for those people that don't want a Conservative Party, because she is way less popular than Rishi Sunak. At least Rishi Sunak is the kind of person that you wouldn't mind having a cup of tea with. Does anybody want to have a cup of tea with Liz Truss?
No.
Thanks a lot, Ravi. 0345 6060 973. Jerry emails, the reason that Crazy was laughing at the Queen's funeral was because he'd just dreamed up the ridiculous budget that he delivered today, and he knew it was a corker and he couldn't stop himself from bursting out laughing. Who does that? I mean, really? John emails, Johnson has no hair. Bodger could ask Sir Elton John for a recommendation. Jan says, maybe Crazy was listening to one of your podcasts. Yeah, right. He's a fan. Who's been waiting the longest? Hull, Derek.
Hi, Nick.
Derek.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Just urge any listeners, especially if you've got a Tory MP as a
representative,
as an MP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, call that. I'd say to you, email your representative, your MP, and tell them how outrageous this cut in tax for higher earners of £150,000. I mean, it's nothing else, but it's just a disgrace. I mean,
I think if you email your local MP and tell them that you're outraged, they'll just bulk delete the lot of them.
Well, that might be the case, but if they start to get the feeling that actually these sort of decisions are going to be, well liked by people who are going to be voting for them, they might start to think differently.
I seriously doubt it, because the plan is, if it's anything other than this, I'll be stunned. The plan is to get everything they can to rinse this country of all of the money that they can get out of it, to distribute among the donor class and themselves, to make sure that their Rolodex is, I know nobody uses a Rolodex anymore, but their contact list is bursting full, and they'll be able to monetize their position once they're out of power. And then, when they're nearer the election, just ramp up the war on woke and spotting dingies.
Yeah, well, you could be right there, Nick. I mean, it's funny because the company, all this Quasi, whatever his name is, where it's for apparently, it's just been reading. They've been backing against bonds, whatever, selling bonds or whatever they do, to make money. I don't know the ins and outs of it, and they've made millions today. You know what I mean?
Well, people who have patriotically betted against the country have once again woken up with gold in their mouths. Yeah, those people. All right, thanks a lot, Derek. 0345 6060 973. Talking about your local representative. You know this bloke called Chris Philp? Not Philip. Philp. Philp. Is a man in want of a vowel. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury was celebrating sterling strengthening after the pound spiked as Crazy Kwarteng announced tax cuts. Finance expert MP Chris Philp tweeted, "Great to see sterling strengthening on the back of the new UK growth plan," accompanied with a graph showing a brief spike at 10 in the morning. Within the hour, the pound had slumped to a fresh 37-year low.
Oh, no.
That guy, that Chris Philp, he's just such a nodding dog. Has he ever said anything that wasn't prescribed for him by those up top? I mean, has he ever expressed a personal thought about anything? What's the point of having an MP if they don't actually express a personal thought, if they don't give their opinion about anything at all, other than what it is that has been handed to them to say from up top? As the Chancellor unveiled tens of billions of pounds of tax cuts for those that don't need them, and nothing for those that do, the FTSE 100 plunged to its lowest in 2 months. And it's all going very well. Economists warned that the Chancellor's tax-cutting ambitions... This is in the Mail. Economists had warned the Chancellor's tax-cutting ambitions could further put pressure on the pound, which means, of course, that imports will become more expensive. But theoretically, it should make exports cheaper for foreign buyers. Our stuff that we sell abroad could be cheaper, which might benefit us. Unfortunately, we've cut ties with the place where we could actually send those goods, a place called the European Union. No! Companies that used to rely on sending their products to the European Union have found that that bonfire of red tape they were promised is actually another mountain of red tape that this government deliberately created. Like they're actually trying to sink the country. And on top of that, that huge and tremendous trade deal we were promised by Bodger and Truss and Farage and Gove and all the rest of that lot, with the world's biggest economy, America, isn't happening. Despite them telling us it would be easy. Liar! It's almost as though they lied to us just to get around the European tax avoidance rules for millionaires. Ain't that right, Smug?
I don't know anything.
One more time?
I don't know anything.
Say it again?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. At least that's his story, and he's sticking to it. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And I can't stand him.
Kerry texts, it's a baffling mini-budget. We need proportional representation to return a more representative parliament, not one which serves very narrow interests. Correctamundo, Kerry. We need a rainbow coalition of interested parties to represent more of the population than just the 40-odd% who vote Conservative and get their way over and over and over again. Another minority government with 100% of the power. What kind of a democracy is that? We want one that isn't just acting in the interests of vulture capitalists, hedge fund titans and fossil fuel mongers. Unless that's a radical point of view, in which case I apologise. Chicago, Waz.
Nick.
Yes, Waz.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm good. Good. I'm in Chicago, and I wondered what your thought was on tipping, because it is emptying my bank.
Yes. Well, I haven't been to America.
Everyone wants 20%.
I haven't been to America in a really long time, but I can remember that I used to have to go around with a pocket full of notes, like $1 notes. Because I was like a cash machine. Everyone you meet wants a tip. You can't park your own car, so you've got to give it to a guy who parks it for you. And you give him a tip when he takes the car, and you give him a tip when he brings the car back. You can't order your own drink at the bar, so you've got to get a wait person to go and get it for you, and you've got to give them a tip. If you leave less than 20% in a restaurant, they'll follow you down the street and shoot you.
That's so true. Everyone wants 20%.
Yeah.
And I've nearly run out of all my tip money. And, it's not good.
Well, if you run out of tip money, Waz, then make sure that you run in a crouched position. By that method, you might actually escape alive.
Can you do me a favour, though?
No.
Come on, you can.
Well, what is it first?
You know on that screen you've got in front of you where you hit all the buttons to do the voice clips?
Maybe.
Can you give me the hot air one? Like hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
Hot
that one.
air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
Another satisfied customer. All right, thanks a lot, Waz. 0345 6060 973. Chicago, eh? Ooh, pizza. Chicago deep pie pizza. Yummy. I've never been, but I've had the pizza. There used to be a place in London called the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Company, something like that. A factory. Maybe it was the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Factory in Hanover Square. It was one of the first sort of themed restaurants, of which there is now a boatload. What's that? Where are you? Hang on a minute.
It's deep dish, not deep pie.
Wow. Now I'm getting abuse from the help. Can you believe that? But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
0345 6060 973. It's a pie. They call it a pie. I know it is a deep dish pizza, but they call it a pie. Deep dish pie pizza. Oh, never mind. West Kent. See, now I want a pizza. Can you say, pizza, without actually wanting a pizza? That's the power of advertising, that is. West Kensington. Hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Jane.
That is Nick Abbot I'm speaking to, and is it?
It is.
The famous anti-monarchist?
Yes. Well...
I am shocked.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked, Jane.
I can't believe what you said to them half an hour ago. And it's probably just the show, was it? It won't be, you know, after now. It'll all change now, won't it?
Well, my position on the Royals used to be that we didn't need to give them quite so much money. Now, that position hasn't changed, really. And I was quite specific. I've never wanted to eliminate the monarchy. But I think people's arguments that, we must keep them as they are because they bring in tourists and so on, I chafed against that argument because it's verifiably not true. Because there are more tourists who go to France than come to Britain, and France had a very strict policy on their monarchy. They didn't like him that much. But now, just for practical reasons, and because the funeral on Monday was just one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the organisation is beyond my imagining. It was absolutely incredible what they pulled off there.
Perfect, yeah.
And how difficult that must have been. More than 1,000 moving parts, each of which had to be in the exact place at the exact time, lined up in serried ranks, each one doing their little thing, with their guns and swords and flags and whatever, and all the hats and the horses and the carriages and the guns for the person who organised all that, then they need to be showered with a confetti of praise. But I also think that whoever organised the television production of it, it was also top-line genius. And the one thing that did strike me, that you only ever notice when it goes wrong, is not the pictures, which were brilliant. It was very, very well directed. But the one thing that you only notice when it goes wrong is the sound. The sound was genius because they mixed the sound of guns in Hyde Park, of a band that was moving, of the bells and the commentators who were blissfully quiet throughout, and the crowd noise, and that was a massive undertaking to bring the sound from all of those various sources to your one television speaker. So I think everybody that has had anything to do with it deserves massive praise.
So it's just the show that you're really thinking about. You haven't actually turned into a monarchist, have you?
I think for practical reasons, it serves this country to keep what we have that nobody else has. It doesn't it doesn't make any sense to throw that away, because that's one thing that we've got that nobody else has got. Why get rid of it? Doesn't make any sense. So
You
yes.
really surprised me, Nick.
Well,
I'm very pleased.
I surprised me, Jane.
God bless you, darling. Thank you so much. We'll see how long it lasts now with Charles is taking over.
Well, that's right. We'll see. All right. Thanks a lot, Jane. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Sam says, the royals have been there throughout all this and throughout Thatcher, etc. What good did it do us? They are the epitome of inequality. Well, yeah. Again, that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? It's the royal family. They're not supposed to be equal. They're above us. That's the idea. And equally, they're not supposed to... I mean, if you want a head of state to do something, then that's not the royal family. The reason that people love the Queen so much is, A, because she was there for so long, for the entirety of most people's lives, she was there, and B, because we didn't really know what she thought about anything, so you could project anything onto her. She presented this sort of pastel-hued blank canvas, because we didn't really know what she thought about anything. Every now and again she'd give us a clue, like the hat that she wore, when, the blue one with the yellow stars that looked like the EU flag. That can't have been an accident. I mean, she must have 1,000 hats, and she chose that one. Alex says, the person was the Duke of Norfolk. He organised all royal funerals. I'm shocked you did not know about that Abbot. Well, I can picture him, because we saw him marching. He was kind of on his own, and the commentator picked him out and said, that's the chap that's responsible. And I don't know, but it looked like he was sort of a bit in a world of his own. I bet that man hadn't slept in about a week. I mean, can you imagine the pressure on him? Because he'd have been preparing for it for decades, but you can only prepare so much. When it actually happens, then everybody starts freaking out. I bet he hadn't slept for about a week. He did. And I don't know whether it was just the coverage. Maybe the camera was wobbling a bit, but it did look he was as though he was in a bit of a daze. I know I would have been. But top marks, that man. Of course, it wasn't just him. He had to delegate to thousands of other people, and apart from anything else, the ones that we saw on the TV screen, the soldiers and the horses and all of that lot, there must have been at least that number again that we didn't see. Because all of those soldiers had to get fed, apart from anything else. And all of the other stuff, the things that go with like mobilising a small army. So, it was one of the best things I've ever seen. It was just completely perfect. I can't think. And I watched it 3 times live, and then the best of, and then the truncated best of after it. Just couldn't get enough of it. And there wasn't anything that went wrong, like at all. Changed my mind. Paul says, considering the government we have ended up with, I'm starting to favour divine right of kings style of rule again. Well, you know what? If people were asked, would you prefer Liz Truss or Charles to be running this country, I think we know which one they'd choose. 0345 6060 973. They'd choose the one that appears to have a heart.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
Sandra texts, it was the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Factory in Hanover Square. That's right. She says the toilets were called Olivia Newton-John and Elton John. Yeah, they were, yeah. She says, I worked in Coots Bank in Cavendish Square and we went there all the time. Best pizzas ever, says Sandra. And I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Sandra. I did love that place. They had they absolutely plastered the walls. I can remember some of the posters right now, actually. it was, I think, the first real themed restaurant that we ever had here. And now, of course, we've got just boatloads of them. But that was a really special place. Down in the basement, the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Factory. I'd go there right now. Like, right now. If it was still there. But that's long gone. But the best pizzas ever were not at the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Factory. They were at a place called Pizzeria Uno, which used to have a place at the end of Old Compton Street in Soho. Wow. They took the deep pie pizza thing to a completely different level. I mean, theirs was deep, like about 2 inches deep. It was a very small, like about, I don't know, 7 inches across or something like that. Like a relatively small pizza, but very, very deep, like about 2 inches deep. Ooh, I'd like a seafood delico and a Long Island iced tea, please.
Booze.
Like right now. I'd travel a great distance to have that again. Hatfield. Hello, Roger.
Hi, Nick. I have to concede that I, like yourself, after watching one of my 2 moments of the week, the first being the coverage of the funeral, totally agree. I'm interested, you might know this, being in the biz, as they say, the feeds for the broadcast, was that syndicated by the BBC to sort of the other broadcasters, or was it all independent?
No.
Because I flicked between the channels, and GB News had really lo-fi picture quality on some of their coverage, so I did.
Well, that's
truly, I was quite surprised, because I would have thought I'd wait till you got a bit more money, fellas, and then have a go. BBC,
you know what? I stuck with the BBC, so I don't know what the other channels were doing, but I've heard that the pictures were exactly the same, and that is what I would expect. I would imagine, just like in a football match, you know, there is only one company that comes in and puts all the cameras there, and you can take the feed and do with it what you wish, but yeah, there would only have been one set of cameras.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was guessing, because the expense alone would be enormous, wouldn't it?
Well, there'd be just too many cameras there.
And I was pleased to hear the voice of David Dimbleby. I thought that he wasn't going to be part of it, because he obviously didn't cover the first part, but the Windsor part, which I thought was more appropriate, actually, because he's always had that. Well, it's a family dynasty, isn't it? You know, his father before him, but I think that was just like the icing on the cake. Yeah,
I agree with you completely. Yeah, when he started to speak, it was almost like you put on a pair of comfortable slippers. I thought, oh, okay, we're in good hands now.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that. And point 2, the sort of comical point of my week was, and I don't know whether you heard it, but I thought of you immediately, because I thought Nick Abbott will think his birthdays and Christmases have all come at the same time. was in the House when the Mogster presented his fracking speech, and some of his own colour turned on him regarding the safety issues of fracking, and he ended by saying, now this is a guy who was educated at Eton and then Trinity College, Oxford, by saying, well, it's just a load of Ludditism.
Yeah.
and there's no such word as Ludditism. It's Luddism.
And even if there was such a word of it, he represents it up and down. He is the very definition of Luddism.
I don't know anything.
He's the man who's responsible for the business, the revivification of the business community in this country. He doesn't even use a computer, for crying out loud.
That's right. Yeah. Just unbelievable. But he is entertaining.
Oh,
you know, he's Marmite, but he is entertaining in the same way that Bojo was.
Well, in the same way as picking a scab is entertaining.
To a point.
All right. This conversation seems to have taken an unpleasant turn. Thanks a lot, Roger. 0345 6060 973. Oh, no, there's pizza wars breaking out. Sandra texted it was the Chicago Deep Pie Pizza Factory, and Sard texts, no, Sandra. It was the Chicago Pizza Pie Factory, not the Chicago Deep Pie Factory. I used to go there all the time in the 1980s, says Sard. Well, you might have been on the next table to me. Who knows? Oh, I'd like to go there again. I wonder what happens to all that stuff that restaurants have when they go out of business, what happens to all that stuff in there? You know, the chairs and the pictures on the wall and the cutlery and the plates and the glasses. Well, what happens to all that stuff? Because to fit out a restaurant, it costs an unbelievably huge amount of money. You know, a place like that, a really big place with, all the kit and caboodle, you wouldn't get much change out of £1 million. I mean, I know that sounds like it couldn't possibly be that much, but it is. Fancy restaurants, big ones, spend an unreal amount of money. And then something of the order of 5 or more go out of business. They don't last the year. You want to... what's the old adage? You want to become a millionaire? Start as a billionaire and open a restaurant. Let's have Maidenhead. Hello, Gary.
Oh, hello, Nick. Nice to speak to you. Just one point on the royal family. It's just when my dad fought in the war, and he died when I was 10, but he did always say that it was the morale with the troops. It was always they were fighting for king. So I think it's always best, we've got some sort of royal family, because it probably helps, if we're fighting for the country, God forbid if we ever have to go down that route again.
Yeah, you wouldn't be fighting for Liz Truss, that's for sure.
No, and that brings me on to my second point. I have spoken before to Sheila, but I'm going through the system with Universal Credit, and I was hoping I would hear something on the radio today, but I'm 61 and I'm the one that's been sleeping in my motor for the last 2.5 years, and I got hit really bad the first time round with the bankers. I was connected to the housing market back then, and I lost everything, lost my house, lost my job, you couldn't get work, because I used to fit all the estate agent boards and do a lot of maintenance, and I ended up on a farm, and then that finished 3 years ago, and so and then I was fighting arthritis, but I had to go on the Universal Credit in July, because my doctor's still good, even though my circumstances, and he says that your knee is so bad and we'll do a lot of results. Well, finally, because everything's delayed, I got the results back 2 days ago and got a phone call from him, and he says the knee's completely shot. It's completely gone inside. You need a complete new knee. This is why you're getting all the pain and you can't work on it.
Yeah, so you're going to go, you'll join a queue to get into a queue to see a consultant, and then he'll put you in a queue to get on a queue to go to hospital.
I'm up against it because Universal Credit, because I've spoken, they're giving me £35 a week, and that's after 45 years paying into the system. I wonder why I bothered.
Well, yeah, you, me, and everyone I know. It's not set up for the benefit of you, Gary, or most of, 99% of the people in this country. Trickle-down economics, that's what it's all about. Give money to the rich and expect the rich to distribute it fairly. How's that going, by the way?
Fabulous.
I wish you all the best, Gary. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Blackpool. Barry. Too late. Let's have Tandy in Stockwell.
Well, yeah, about 1 minute now, but I would like to say that the service was amazing and we showed the whole of the EU and the world. It was a global thing. And as for that Liz Truss, she hasn't got decorum, she hasn't got dignity, and she's not dedicated to duty. And she's just basically ex-Lib Dem, and she backed Brexit, and then she had the 18 months, so she says, affair. Who was it with Mark Field? But anyway...
Who's Mark Field? I don't know what you're talking about there, so I'll just back away from that. But, as for the duty part, I wonder if she's actually a real person. Do you think Liz Truss is real, or is she a marionette? I suspect that she's made of wood. I can't confirm that. I can't be absolutely certain about that. But if you knock on her, is that the sound that she makes? Dowlin Hove says the government declined to publish the OBR financial forecast today, the Office for Budget Responsibility. Also, there was no PMQs this week, so we'll have to wait till next week. Except next week is conference week, so there's no PMQs then either. Okay. Accountability is just so last millennium, he says. Yeah, if they've declined to publish the financial forecasts of what it is that they have just done, presumably because those financial forecasts are too good to pass on, because we would just explode with pleasure. So they want to damp that down. And so they haven't produced the forecasts of what is about to happen to this country because of the policies enacted by this government. It's just, the stuff that's happening, it's, every day in every way I just get more and more amazed. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I'll be back tonight with all of the texts and emails. And look, only 11 pages of closely typed texts and emails. Stop writing to me, people. I can't get through them in a brief 3-hour show. So I'll start with that and see how we go tonight at 10 o'clock. This show does get stuck up the internet as a podcast, available only on Global Player, just on Global Player, available free for Apple and Android. I don't know who's on next. It's at the bottom of this. I'll just scroll down 11 pages. The information is that Richard Spur is here at 4 o'clock, but first it's Clive. Oh, God, that again. Clive Bull.
It is. Oh, and here I am, yeah. OK. It's all going well so far. We're going to talk about the budget, surprise, surprise, the mini budget, but it wasn't very mini at all. 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 Mini at all.